that these women, they're getting knocked up. They're the ones who have complete and total access to who sleeps with them. They're not getting raped. And they have the choice as to whether or not they abort or not abort. Yeah?
But someone also was.
But does the man have a choice?
The man was.
Does the man have a choice?
Man has a choice to not impregnate a woman.
Now,
yes.
what if the man?
The man has a choice to not impregnate a woman.
Does the man have the choice to keep the baby?
Not if the woman doesn't want to.
Does the man have the choice to make the woman pay him child support and keep the baby?
How much is the average child support?
Can you answer my question?
No.
I just went.
How much is
no? No. Answer my.
No.
I just
said no.
Okay. Let's back up.
How about you listen?
Yeah. Okay, let's back up. Well, I said, can you answer my question? And you said no. You could see how I could perceive that as you saying, I'm not going to answer your question, right?
Yes. No.
Even the moderator thought that was the case. Okay. So let's back up. You do believe that it is the case that men can't force women to have their children.
Correct.
But women can force men to take care of their children.
That's correct.
Okay. How is that fair?
I'm not saying it's fair.
Okay, so then what is the so then if men didn't want to have that child, why should they be held to account, take care of it?
Because it's their child.
What?
Because it is their child.
I'm super confused, but they didn't have a say.
Doesn't matter. It's their child.
Should they be able to have a say?
I don't think so.
But you just said it's not fair.
Yeah, it's not fair. So what? They had a child. That's their child. They should take care of it and not abandon it.
So, okay, so to get this right, then women should be able to kill men's children if they want, right?
Stop framing it as...
Or keep them if they want, and the man has to pay child support for the child.
That's correct.
Right?
That's correct.
And you think women should get to make that choice?
100%.
Why should we let women make that choice?
Because they're the ones that have to, conceive.
So, got it. So they're the ones who have to conceive. So they're the ones making the choice.
Yep.
So therefore, it's their responsibility. Anything else?
No, because the father is also part of the responsibility.
Wait, I'm sorry. Who's making the choice?
They can have the child, but the father should take care of their child. And you don't disagree with that, do you?
Wait.
Do you disagree with that or not? Do you disagree that the father should take care of the child?
I can't justify it from a secular angle.
Why not?
Because it makes no sense to me.
It makes total sense. If you have a child, you should take care of it.
Well, let's try this again. I just walked you through the logic, though.
Fuck the logic. I'm asking you, do you think a secular person should take care of the child that they have?
Does a Christian think that? Of course.
And you don't think secular people do?
Well, I can't see how secularists could justify it, no. Not if you're making the claim. So you made the claim.
From my worldview, if you have a child, you should take care of it, period.
Why?
Because that's my worldview.
Okay. Why, though?
Because it's your child. You are a part of it. I don't need to justify it for you.
Right, because when we walk around the logic, here's what we end up with. You say women have complete and total access, should be able to kill a man's kid, right? Or should be able to bring it to bear and make sure that the man takes care of the kid, but the man can't tell the woman that she has to have the kid even when she's pregnant,
That's
right?
correct. And if there's a child in the world that man contributed to, he should take care of it.
Okay, so just to make sure that we got this right, it's an uneven standard for men versus women.
If that's the world we live in.
Yeah, so justify why it is that men shouldn't say that.
I don't need to.
Yeah, okay. Well, then, when you ask me, Andrew, don't you think X? And I say, well,
and
yeah.
You say I can't fathom it from a secular point of view.
From a secular point of view, I actually can't answer the justification. Just remember that neither can you.
And I would say most secular people also believe you should take care of a child if you're the one
from
that
the Christian ethical angle, of course you're supposed to take care of your children. But from the Christian ethical angle, it's also completely appropriate, right, to put significant pressure on women to not have abortions, meaning men get a say in the choice, right?
Well, what's wild to me is that you're complaining about single motherhood, and then you're sitting here saying, well, men should say it, which is just wild. That men should say it if they want to.
When did I say when?
You said so men should say it, right?
I'm sorry. Do you know what an ought is versus a descriptor?
Sure.
What's an ought?
An ought is, I don't know.
Did I say that secular men ought to do that? Or did I say I can't think of a justification?
You can't think of a justification.
And neither can you.
But you also don't think single motherhood is a good thing, correct?
That's correct.
So why don't you encourage men to take care of the children?
Should we force them to?
I think so.
Okay, so you think that we should force men to take care of the kids?
Correct. That's what child support is.
But no. No, that's not. Well, that is true that they take it by force, I guess.
Yeah, that's what you said.
But what I'm talking about force is like, should we make them participate as a father?
Yes.
We should force that.
And so, as long as the court rules that they should, yes.
No, that's different. I'm not asking about what the court rules. I'm asking, do you think we should force men to participate?
I think they should force at least child support. And if
no, that's not my question.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Should they force men to participate in being a father?
No.
Being a father, no.
No. Not if the father. If the father's going to be a shitty father, then no.
Can you explain to me how it is that if the woman can get child support from the guy, right, and you are not going to force any participation, aren't you pushing single motherhood?
No, you're blaming women for single motherhood.
Yeah.
And you're saying
they're the ones who have all the choice by your own admission.
But the fathers have no part to play in it. And in single motherhood, fathers have no part to play. If it is the case that
fathers can't make the determination as to whether or not they can even have the kid, and only the woman can, you hold an uneven playing field. I have at least a consistent view that women should not be allowed to abort, and men ought to actually be made to participate in their own children's life. That's my consistent worldview. Your worldview is inconsistent.
Okay.
You're making the... Yeah, it's totally inconsistent.
I said that if a man has a child...
You're just giving privilege to women.
If a man has a child, they should take care of it. Do they? That's a different story. I'm saying they should.
If women have children, should they take care of it?
Yeah.
Can they give it up for adoption?
Sure.
Okay. Can the man make the woman give... Or why can't the man give up his parental rights and just walk away? If the woman can.
If the woman does, then he can.
Well, wait, that's really weird. I don't get it. If it is the case that the mother has guardianship of the father's child, she can still put the child up for adoption, right?
Sure.
Okay, but he can't.
If he has guardianship of the child, he can't?
If he has guardianship,
well,
right?
so he can too.
But if she's a single mom, what gives him guardianship?
Well, he doesn't have guardianship. I'm saying if a father has guardianship, he can also put up the child for adoption. It's not just a mother thing.
But who does it default to?
Why does it default to women?
Because that's the way the system is set.
How is it set that way?
Because it has become matrilineal rather than patrilineal.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
It means from the father or from the mother.
No, I know the definition. You always use those words.
It means that
why is the family court?
Yeah.
Why is it giving it to the women?
Because feminists have made huge pushes in order to make it that way.
Feminists have pushed that women get custody of the child?
Yeah.
Are most judges in family court men or women?
In family court, they're men.
And so they're influenced by feminists?
I'm sorry, wait a second. Are you saying that men can't be feminists?
I'm saying that I doubt that the majority of family court...
Are you saying that men can't be feminists?
I'm saying that I doubt all the family court judges are so influenced by feminism.
Do family court judges have to adhere to the law, or do they make the law?
I'm not sure if they make the law or not.
They have to adhere to the law. They don't make it, right? Yeah, so family court judges are just adhering to the law, right?
And what's the law say?
Yeah, the law... So here's what happened. We used to have what are called coverture laws. Coverture laws actually forced men to take care of their families. That very same thing that you want, right? Of course, this also made children their property, and women, right, were also part of the man then, right? That was how it went. But guess what? They had to take care of their family or they went to jail. That's what happened. Marriages stayed together about 90, 95%. And then you know what happened? Feminists really pushed real hard for the average default laws. And here's what the average default laws were. The average default laws were saying basically, on average, the default's going to go to women, right? Now, there's a whole series of laws I can pull up and go through. But yes, this was pushed by feminists so that there was default laws which pushed literally that women by default had custody. Yes, that is correct.
That is not how it works, because if a father tries to get custody of the child, they often do get it. But most they do now. Oh, so feminists have failed then?
No, bro. There's been, since men's rights movement started, especially in about the mid-2000s, there have been reforms to the laws. Male custody has quadrupled because of men's rights advocacy groups. And yes, quadrupled. And yes, I can grab you that stat if you want it.
I'm not saying...
It has quadrupled because these laws have now begun to get rolled back. But it used to actually just be a straight default. A straight default.
How long? Because my understanding of this is most fathers aren't filing for custodial guardianship of the child.
You have to understand that you're looking at it from a historic prism that doesn't make any sense. You're talking about modern laws and the way that modern custody arrangements happen. It wasn't always this case. The case used to be actually that children went to the men. That was the old laws under coverture laws, right? That changed with feminism and radical feminism pushing for those laws to be changed.
So you're saying there was a time when the children were raised, there were more single fathers than single mothers?
No, there just wasn't really any erosion of marriage.
Okay, then why'd you say that? Why'd you make that point? You made the point that back in the day, men were getting custody of the children, but then there were still more single mothers.
No, there wasn't very many single mothers either.
Okay, but they outnumbered the single fathers.
No, there wasn't. Listen, these marriages stayed together But under the law, it was true under the coverture laws that the child was the property, or was at least associative property, to the father. Yes.
I'm glad we're having this discussion because it goes back to the point that I've been trying to make.
Can you explain though your logic there? I'm trying to understand the logic.
No, I want to get back to the thing we're talking about.
I know.
No. I want to get back to the thing we're talking about.
Hang on.
No. I'm not hanging on. It's not about escaping.
Before I let you escape, I just want to get back to this logic.
This is the point that I'm trying to make.
Why would it be that there was more?
That I'm trying to make.
Stop,
I don't want to.
I just want to finish.
I want to get back to the thing.
If you just answer this last question,
I don't give a shit. I want to get to the next thing.
Why won't you answer my question?
Because the whole point I've been trying to make this whole debate is that any chance you get, you blame women. Any chance you get, you blame women. Single mothers.
For what?
For everything. You blame women for the downfall of society.
What
Andrew.
if it is that? Well, let me ask you this.
Do you blame women for the downfall of society?
No, I don't blame them for the downfall of society.
The current trend of society? No. You don't?
No.
You never said that?
No. What I blame women for specifically, right, is feminism and feminist Marxist ideology. I do blame them for that, yes.
Okay, and as you said, feminism is the reason there's so many single mothers, right?
I think it's a core reason, yeah.
Okay, so is that contributed to the downfall of society?
Sure.
So through that logic, women are contributing to the downfall of society?
Yeah, but men would also be contributing to the downfall of society.
Okay, so you blame women mostly for the downfall of society.
I blame feminism, yes, the ideology of feminism.
Which is
but I'm
women.
blaming the ideology. So you're just asking about the execution. It's like, are you blaming men for the downfall of society, of a society which is mostly communist? Or would you be because they're enforcing everything, or would you be blaming the ideology?
You're blaming women.
Can you answer my question?
No, you're blaming women. You're not blaming the ideology because women are the ones who...
So I'm going to ask the question again until you answer it.
Okay.
So you have a communist country, right? And the men are doing most of the bad stuff in the communist country. Would you blame the men, or would you blame communism?
I don't think feminism...
Can you answer my question? Answer the question. Yes or no? You don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay. Because I'll just start answering that way. I don't know.
You're saying feminism, the ideology in its own. Feminism, the ideology on its own.
You lived in a communist country, and it was mostly the men enforcing the communism.
Yep.
You don't know if you'd blame the men or the ideology, really. You don't know?
I'd probably blame the men at that point.
You'd blame okay, well then, so you're saying that I should blame women?
No, I'm saying that you do.
I blame the ideology.
No, you're blaming the women at every chance you get.
The only consistent thing you could actually say here would be, I blame communism for the way these men are behaving, unless you innately think men are bad.
What about feminism?
Do you innately think men are bad?
What about feminism is bringing about the downfall of society?
You mean what is it contributing to?
Yeah.
It's not just contributing to single motherhood. It also contributes to these two-income households. It's contributing to, well, it contributes to the fact that we even need two-income households. But one of the major things it contributes to is taking mothers out of the home. That's the biggest way that it contributes to the downfall of society, is taking mothers out of the home. Don't you agree?
I don't agree. But this goes to the point that how does this change what I said, that you blame feminism for the downfall of society?
Well, you didn't say that. You said
I said that initially, and I said that in my opening statement as well.
You said I blame women.
Who implemented feminism?
Yeah, so that was a bunch of rich corporatists, and then and then it was also a lot of women who were in bed with. No, it really was. It was rich corporatists.
Was it men that implemented feminism?
It was both.
Okay.
Yeah, it was both. But what do you think? But back to this. I just want to make sure, right? Why would it how would it even track that I would blame women for the or hate women? I'm sorry, hate women. I do blame them if they're feminists for holding that ideology, but that's not all women. That's not me hating women. You made the distinction earlier that if I hate an individual woman,
right, that's
not misogyny, right?
I wouldn't say on an individual level, no.
Yeah, so then if I hate all feminists, that's only hating individuals with an ideology, right?
If most women are feminists, wouldn't that be misogynistic?
I'm not sure that most women, well, I don't know. That's hard to say. But if it is the case, no, actually, even if it was the case that most women were feminists and you hated all women who were feminists, you still wouldn't hate women. You would only hate feminists.
That's an easy way out of that one.
Well, I mean, it's true though, right?
No, it's not true.
Okay, well then explain the logic to me.
Because if women are feminists and you hate feminism, then you hate women.
No, you hate feminism.
Okay.
Yeah, so here's the thing, and I can prove it. I hate men who are feminists too.
Oh, you're looking at one.
Yeah, so here's the thing. If that's the case, then would that make me a misandrist?
I don't think so.
What if most men were feminists, which you said is about 80%? So then I hate 80% of men. by that logic. So I'm a misandrist, right?
If you hate them for that, yeah, sure.
Okay, so then I'm a misandrist and a misogynist.
Then yeah, you hate.
So
people.
I just hate everybody.
I mean, I wouldn't say most men are.
Hate everybody.
I wouldn't say most men are feminists.
You said 80%?
I'm granting your hypothetical.
You weren't granting a hypothetical. I asked you the question. You said 80% agree with me.
No, I don't think.
And you're a feminist.
I don't think 80% of men are feminists.
Okay, how many?
I don't know. I have no idea. I'll throw out a number. I'll say maybe 30%.
30%.
Yeah.
And how many women?
I have no idea. Maybe 80.
So a lot more?
Yeah.
And you think that shouldn't come up during a dating talk, huh?
I'm not saying it should. I'm saying that you blame feminism, which by default you blame women.
So if men and
women are in the workplaces,
men and women are so ideologically split on like almost as like a 60-20 playing field, you don't think that that's pertinent to dating?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you blame feminism for the downfall of society.
I did not just feminism.
Okay.
Yeah. But I do blame feminists for their part of the downfall of society, yeah.
Including going to work, including going to college, including all that stuff.
No, the idea of separating mothers from children. That was the worst thing.
By going to work and going to college and...
That's a terrible idea.
Right.
Don't you think it's a better... why is it a better idea for you to send your kid away from you to like a nanny or something to raise the kid instead of you? How's that better?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Move on?
You don't know.
Well, you can... Do you want to give a response before
no,
we...
because it's not better, is it?
I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah, because it's not better, is it?
I'm just not going to get into it.
Yeah, because is it better, though?